since that needs to predict the future accurately, and then see what you guys think. The data's been captured, and Google looks like it's still its own favorite. Gentlemen, do you guys agree real quick?
Look, I think it comes down to the players that have, as I was talking about before, have scale and the ability to reach those users and integrate data very well. So I think that the companies like Google and Microsoft, I think that would be a fair assessment. They've got a good heritage in integrating technology, and then I think data is a very exciting place right now for all of us. So I think these companies will be able to. They have the scale and the reach and the ability to deliver messages to those audiences very efficiently.
So I think that to answer the question, one has to look at search separately from display and video advertising, because Google obviously dominates in search. Be interesting to see what the combination of Microsoft and Yahoo will be able to do there. The results so far for Bing are very encouraging. But Google certainly dominates search. But if you look at display, Google's market share is far, far lower. And in the US, at least, Yahoo is clearly the leader by stretch. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see it play out. I found that forecasting is always difficult, especially when it concerns the future. So I think I might not jump to the conclusion or prediction here.
Well, one of the common themes of both of your presentations was the analytics and the insight that based on data that you can perceive more and more, and as you try to do better things on things like cookie deletion. Do either of you think we can see marketers or agencies do anything different or further or really innovative in their thinking as a result of this technology that we haven't seen much of before?
So that's a really good question. So I think that the education of the industry to some of the issues that I brought up is working. I'll just give you one statistic to support that. So the IAB in the U.S. released their data for the fourth quarter advertising spending. Right? The growth rate for display advertising was 4 times that of search, which has never happened before. Normally search far outpaces display. So display there included banners, rich media, and video, so it's a total. But I found that to be a very, very encouraging sign that maybe we're getting more of the branding dollars beginning to move on the internet.
Ever anecdotally too, that branding dollars online are going to become more of a force than they had been, which I think is encouraging to a lot of media publishers. But
yeah, look, I think that the slide you put up there was one of the best depictions of branding versus direct response. I was really encouraged to see that. I think that the way that we look at it is slightly off topic, but we believe that video in the display business will become the preferred branding vehicle on the internet. And someone grabbed me the bar. We're going to talk about that tonight at the gala dinner, but I'll be very passionately talking about. I don't think it's about necessarily engagement rates, or is it engagement rate, 50% view of this particular type of content. I think there is inherently value in moving the industry more to where the TV business is in relation to a measurement system that is basically trying to assure that my message reaches this proportion of my target audience, whether it be female grocery buyers, males, dependent people. And so I think that we have a long way to go, but I don't think the future is pushing more down to the engagement or the click. I think it's around great insights into brand uplift, brand awareness, and all of the additional very good industry.
I think that's a really good point. If you look at the way that these exchanges have emerged now, the ability to buy an audience, gives you tremendous targeting ability, but I think requires the right creative to be put in front of that audience. But with the availability of video, you've got sight, sound, and motion, and you can put something that's pretty persuasive in front of the consumer. So the future, I think, is really, really bright for all our advertising.
It's interesting. Yesterday, I think as we went through the discussion following Jimmy Wales, the audience was asked what technology was going to have the biggest impact, and the audience chose social media. Jimmy chose broadband. You guys sound like you're choosing video.
I press video.
Video requires a lot of broadband. if you look at the forecasts of total bandwidth consumption on mobile, and it looks at Morgan Stanley numbers, and it's mind-boggling to me. In 3 years, 60% of the total bandwidth consumption on mobile is in video. And I don't, and mobile, Lord knows the carriers don't have the capacity to data handle it. So, so clearly video is going to be really important. But the impact of social networking is something that we just can't ignore. So our data now is saying that Facebook reaches in a month 420 million people. If Facebook were a country, it would be the third largest country in the world after India and China. And it looks like mobile access of social networking sites within the next 3 years may well exceed the fixed internet access. And so, you've got massive numbers, you've got access anywhere during the day. It'd be interesting to see what happens with advertising running there.
Well, thanks very much, gentlemen. I believe we're going to take a break now and reconvene at 11:30, so it's not going to be too long that we see you back here. So thanks so much. We're going to hear from Hernan Sanchez Niera, the Chief Executive Officer of VOS Media and Intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, good morning, and thank you very much for inviting us to the festival. We really believe that the carbon economy is an unprecedented opportunity for companies and brands to create value. We think it captures a new way of thinking about production. It's the first time that we see a way of expressing the economy in a way which is not about a logic in which the bigger the hammer, the better. It's the first time we see a description of the economy as something that needs to be really taken care of and used in a rational way. When we think, we've been reviewing what's been done around environmentalism and communications, it seems that communications tend to be like trying to communicate to people who are sensitive about this topic, trying to communicate to hippies, using unicorns, using trolls, using a sort of way of talking to people who doesn't exist, I would say. But when we look at the heart of the carbon economy debate, what we have is a discussion about a new consensus, a new worldwide economic consensus. We are moving away from the Washington consensus that's been driving the economy for the last 30 years, and we are moving to a new economy. We don't know if we are going to be seeing a new Beijing consensus on how the economy should be handled, or perhaps a Valencia consensus, but things are really changing, and we believe that in this context, communicating is going to be very different from the past. So in this video we see how happy politicians are acting. I think that the message, the metaphor around this video is that what we're really discussing nowadays is a new leadership for the economy. It's not only about marketing or production systems. It's a moment in which we're going to see a definition of who's going to be leading the economy for the next years to come. And then I'd like to use another video to express a little bit what we think, what most companies are doing with this leadership opportunity. What are they really doing? How far they go?
Some people don't. People who start pollution. People can stop it.
And we believe that this mentality of talking to strange people has been around for almost 35 years. This is a campaign from 1974. At the center of the campaign was a Native American, which is less than 1% of the US population. And we think that this logic has been trying to be pushed, like doing push in marketing and push communications to aliens, people who are very far away from us, and we can throw the dirt to them and they just cry. So it's very strange, it's very paradoxical. It's a paradox for us because what we see from different studies that we do is that people are really concerned about a new carbon economy, climate change, and sustainability. This is from a study that we ran 3 years ago about the impact, potential impact of climate change. The yellow part of all the pies are the percentage of the population that represents eco-absorbed people who really care about this topic. And you see there's a large part of the population who's really worried about climate change, in this case, and especially in the emerging countries, especially in the emerging economic countries, where it seems that the future of the economy is going to be. So everything was pointing out that there was a big opportunity there. That people were, when we asked them, they were telling us that they were already doing things in order to fight the negative effects of climate change, that they were conserving energy, reducing waste, recycling, and that they had the power also to purchase or not to purchase products from companies which are fighting against the negative consequences of climate change. That they prefer to buy and to get in contact, to get in connection, to have a relationship with companies who are really working on this topic, and that they were ready also to pay a fair price. But in any case, it seems that it's taking too long to make this opportunity come true for most of the companies. We believe that there's still a potential for creating what we call an eco-cycle, a positive circle of value creation around rethinking how to use our resources, how to use physical inputs in a different way, on one side, and on the other side using soft resources to engage the population, to engage the people, the customers, to recycle, to revise, to conserve knowledge, ideas, connections and culture around climate change and sustainability. We believe that in the future most companies will be competing not only on value creation but also on minimizing the cost of destruction that they're doing. And at the end game of all this battle, we see that the scarcity of resources is going to push the agenda for a new way of connecting with people. So this was about climate change and remarketing. When we start listening to people, we see that people, of course, really care about other issues beyond the environment, which is still an important issue for them, but they also worried about the social impact of what companies are doing, and of course the economic impact of the relationship with companies. And they are really looking for a new relationship with corporations. They say that they respect responsible companies, responsible in terms of being sustainable. They believe that large companies should be involved, they should be leading this movement towards sustainability. They say that they see that most companies are responsible only to improve their image. They see that there's not enough being done by companies, and they see a very small role for governments into this issue. So again, this is opening a huge opportunity for companies that are taking the lead in this subject. There's a very recent McKinsey report which is studying the same issue from the corporate perspective, and what we see is that only 30% of executives are actively investing in sustainability. The basic engagement from companies, it comes from the CEO agenda, so it's a little bit strange, I would say. It's all about corporate reputation, and it's being communicated through CSR reports. And consumers, of course, don't care a lot or at all about these CSR reports. So there's a huge disconnection between what corporations are doing and this really new way of consumers and people looking for the relationship with companies. And we believe that this new relationship, sustainability, should be at the center. And should be at the center in a way in which companies can articulate all the capital that they can use to relate with society in the form of social capital, human, manufacturing, financial, and natural. Of course, there are companies that already understood this new environment and are taking a huge advantage from it, and are really profiting from it. We identified some of these companies like Apple, Mercadona, Starbucks, Walmart, Whole Foods, Google, Nike, Pixar, Hyundai, Kia, Nintendo, and Inditex. And these people are really behaving different. These companies are really behaving differently. They are doing something which seems quite simple, is doing meaningful stuff. Something that really creates a connection with consumers. And meaningful businesses do something very, very, very simple. These are businesses which enhance human well-being. And they enhance human well-being in terms of physical wellness, mental wellness, social, economic, or emotional wellness. And we believe that meaningful business happen when responsibly produce inputs are sustainably transformed into ethically credited outputs and have tangible, positive outcomes. And the problem for most, or for many businesses, is that they cannot prove and cannot demonstrate positive outcomes in any of these forms to its customers. This is a description of the GDP per capita and life satisfaction. In this case, it is in Japan. Unfortunately, the flat line is the life satisfaction during the last 40 years in the context of a real growth of economic richness for people. So at the end, what we see that if Japan can be considered a very advanced market in terms of consumption, what we see is that at the end of the system, what we're going to have is people having more stuff, and it doesn't mean anything for them. It doesn't make them happy, it has no emotional benefit for them. There are other examples. This is the obese adult population in the US. And again, we have around 25% of the population being obese. And if you take the image of all the advertisements that we see around food, and you translate those images in what should be the outcome of that system, and you see this reality, you see there's a huge disconnection. Advertising is telling us that people should be very happy, very thin, having a fantastic family, having dogs, smiling all the time, and at the end of all this system, what we have is a population which is obese, unfortunately, and getting ill. So, what are the leaders which are creating meaningful economy doing? We believe that they are using three forces. The first one is they move from producing goods and services to ventures, or goods that really prove to be good. This is an example from a US retail chain called Hannaford. It's in the northeast of the US, and these people did something very, very interesting. When you go to the store, at the point of sales, you have information about the price, as in all retail stores, and also about a star system that tells you the nutritional value of the products. So, if a product has no nutritional value, it has 0 stars, and it has a high value, it has 3 stars. And they gain this system by working with nutritionists that are part of the company. So, they discovered that 70% of what they had in the rails, in some cases, it was better to eat in the package than the content of the product. And they also discovered at the same time that those products with more stars were able to grow more. They multiplied by 3 to 5 times the level of growth that products without any stars. So what Hannaford is trying to do is not just pushing food into people's houses, but selling them or having a relationship with them about providing a whole food solution, a whole nutritional solution. The second element is they are moving from value chains, this is a mistake here, value chain to value cycles. If you remember, value chains were these things that comes in books, that were like little boxes, there was an arrow at the end of the product, disappeared. The leaders of the meaningful economy will use value cycles. They are integrated production systems in which consumers are at the center. This is the case of Inditex. The most famous brand is Zara. It's a Spanish company. Everything is around the experience at the store. So they have a very flexible system which is totally adapted to be able to give an answer to the store demands in a 2 weeks' time. So by having the consumers integrated completely and from the heart in the system, what we managed to do is to be able to present a new offer to the customers every 2 weeks. In an industry that competes in having 2 or 3 seasons by year. So you can imagine the impact of having someone who's able to transform its business offer every 2 weeks to an industry that is able to transform its business offer every 2 or 3 times a year. The level of flexibility and adaptation this business model has absolutely destroys the competitors, and on the bad side of this business model doesn't require any sort of advertising, because you are really serving your customers on a day-to-day basis. And the final element that we believe that they are doing is moving away from value propositions, this idea of we talk, you listen, and these Michael Porter books talking about value propositions, putting all this stuff aside, and moving to value conversation. Okay? This is an example for Walmart. They created a work of connecting with the different stakeholders of Walmart called the Sustainable Value Networks, in which they took a series of issues that were very, very important in terms of sustainability, especially given the size and the impact of Walmart in the US and the world economy. So they took these verticals on textiles, fisheries, electronic products, etc., until they got, I think, 13 or 14. And around the topic, they put together NGOs, their suppliers, thought leaders, of course, their own people, and they were able to create a new way of changing the relationship they had, first changing the relationship they had through communication, and being able to create and to think together new solutions in these very important issues. So we believe that using these 3 forces, meaningful companies are really taking the lead in this new economy. And we also think that in the near future, we are going to see a huge change around sustainability. It will be pushed not so much by the willingness of consumers to be sustainable or not, but also by a new wave that we see coming in communications, which is around transparency. And we really believe that transparency will redefine marketing and communications in the next 5 to 10 years. These are a few examples. On the top left, we have Hanford again, that I explained. The second one is Good Guide, which is a system of being able to understand what's behind a product when we're going to buy it. The image is that photograph is from Asda, which is Walmart in the UK. What they're doing is putting video cams in all the supply chain of the categories. So this is the current cam. So this is very exciting because it's boring to see how cars are produced at this speed. They are doing also things in categories like dairy, which are quite controversial in terms of sustainability, but they are willing to push and show and bring transparency to everything that they are doing. And the final one is from a Walmart US presentation when they were talking about sustainability in November last year. They were talking about this idea of having a sustainability index put in front of the consumer's EVA. A little bit like what Hannaford is doing now, but at the Walmart size. To give you an idea of the Walmart size, their production of their sales of private labels almost doubles the total sales of Nestlé around the world. And they move 10% of all the Chinese imports in the US economy. So whatever Walmart does at economic scale is really huge. And when you bring transparency to markets, you can have 2 effects. Because basically you are breaking one of the marketing rules, which is talking about credibility. Building brands to be credible. It doesn't matter if it was true or not. But transparency, what it does is it means bringing credibility to truth. And it's moves this perceived quality that we manage to talk about to consumers to real quality. And this really has a huge impact on value creation for brands. It will have a negative effect if perceived quality moves into truth and the gap was huge, the asymmetry of information to consumer was huge, then prices go down. A clear example is the private labels growth in Europe in the last 10 years. When consumers went to the point of sales and were able to see that the only difference between two products was just a name, of course, private labels grew dramatically, and with more technology and more internet, we're going to see more transparency in the marketplace, and we're going to see more and more of these effects. Of course, the other way of doing it is taking transparency as an opportunity, in the way that we show that Hannah or Walmart can be doing, and really making it at the heart of value creation and redefining a relationship with a customer based on sustainability that for them is the real issue. Consumers are really asking corporations to build a better world, a better world. So there's really a huge opportunity there. We believe that with this environment, communications will change, not only the tone, but also the forms. And I wanted to share with you a little example of a way of communication that we really believe is pushing in this direction.
We'll see events taking place up and down the country. Encouraging the public to join Team Green Week and giving them ideas about how they can make a difference.
If we don't deal with climate change, if we don't deal with the problems and the challenges that are thrown up by climate change, our world will irrevocably change for the worse. What this is about is whether we have a collective will to look a problem in the eye and understand corrective action.
The idea behind it is that many times we feel helpless about what we can do, and in fact whether what we can do will make a difference to something just as big as climate change, the impact on the environment. And so what we are seeking to do is to bring home to each and every one of us that our contribution, our doing of a bit, whatever that may be, will all add up to make a massive difference.
Working with London 2012, the Eden Project, Global Action Plan, and schools around Britain, EDF Energy will be inviting people to do something green for the team.
finally, the title of the presentation was about the new rules. We don't like the word rules very much. I think that we bring here 6 ideas about how to operate in this new carbon economy or sustainable economy. First thing is a transformation, and it's the moment to start working, of course. And everybody, and people accept, and consumers accept that it's a transformation that's taking place. So it's a good moment to start with it. We believe that organizations should be more organic in the way in which they work. And this is something that we push inside our organization all the time. Silos are killing the possibility of any organization walking into this direction. So an organic approach of the organization is key. Communication will be at the center. Conversation, networks will be at the center of this revolution. So this is good news for communications and organizing people. We have to transform sustainability as part of the grand equity of the equity of our assets. It's not just about CSR. No consumers cares at all about CSR reports. It's key to be relevant and meaningful to customers, and it's key to understand which are your areas of meaningfulness and which are your weaknesses inside. And it's also important to communicate meaningfully meaning that people really understand, feel, touch the benefit of using products or services. There's no more room for pure promises and empty advertising. So thank you very much.
And thank you very much. Let's bring up Doug Scott, President of Ogilvy Entertainment and advisor to Tree Hugger for another perspective.
Thank you very much. I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible because I do think that the topic deserves some time for questions and answers. As mentioned, I am an advisor to treehugger.com. For those of you that don't know, it's probably the world's largest green blog, bought by Discovery Channel about a year and a half ago. And green is something that really is personal to me. Over the past several years, I've really noticed a need to be able to incorporate these certain principles about how I live into my life, into my children's lives, and really into what I do. Later today, you'll hear me talk a little bit more about the practice that I developed over in entertainment. But recently what we've done is we have, within the agency, formed a virtual group, Ogilvy Earth, run by a gentleman named Seth Fardman. And Ogilvy Earth's mission is really to cut across all the different divisions, be it PR, be it advertising, be it our activation division, Ogilvy Action, and bring together those resources on behalf of our clients as well as on behalf of the industry to elevate the dialogue and the discussion that's happening right now around this sustainability movement, around this green movement. What I'm going to share with you very quickly is a program that we launched this past year in partnership with the United Nations around the Copenhagen Climate Change Conference, which was COP15. COP16 is currently in planning stage for Cancun, Mexico in November, December of this year. And really what you'll see here is a movement. What we tried to do is develop a platform that allows the United Nations as a governing body, the members of that body, the 192 plus countries, I believe, that are part of that organization, to come together under a common umbrella, bringing in corporate partners, bringing in consumers to have a voice in what this whole movement is about. And that's really what Copenhagen was about. So, Gandhi in 1945 said, be the change you want to see in the world. And obviously, our current president, also around this idea of change, stated change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. And I think that's very important because whether it's us as individuals, whether it's us as organizations, as companies, as countries, we are all one. And in order for us to have the change that we all desire in life, and that I believe we all deserve as a world, with the technology and the media and the resources we have available to us, it's incumbent on all of us to come together to really seek and effect this change. As I said, this campaign was not a United Nations campaign. It wasn't our campaign for the UN. It was the People's Campaign. It was about empowerment and giving people the tools that would allow them to create their own campaign. Our ambition was create people power. How do we be clear about the goal, set people off on a mission, give them the platform and let them build, inspire them to be content generators, give something back to the people, connect people with their leaders, influence decisions, and then seal the deal. As a lot of you are very well aware, be it the Kyoto Protocol or other climate initiatives that have gone on, we tend to have politicians that come together. There's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of closed-door dialogue and horse trading that takes place, but very rarely do we see any results that come out of these tremendous talks that take place on a global basis. We believe that the time is now, with the advent of Twitter and Facebook and social networking, which we all believe is one of the most powerful tools out there today, to really force politicians and force governments to make that change, to adopt that change. So what was the movement? Connect every person, every city, every nation to Copenhagen and give everyone hope. So what we wanted to do is turn Copenhagen into Copenhagen. When people lead, the leaders will follow. We've seen it time and time again. You're seeing that happen right now in Asia in terms of the situation that's taking place there. So the overall campaign was Copenhagen. Here's an example of some of the print that was done. Some other print that went out. I'll talk a little bit about the partnerships that we had with brands as well as media partners in a second. And here's a sample of viral video. So those videos were placed on YouTube. They were placed on television through media partners that we had. And really what they were used to do is stimulate the awareness of what was taking place. They were accompanied with several print ads and out of home. We'll just run through some of these. This was a wallscape that was done in Shanghai. And again, a large part of what we were looking to do is pool resources together to really enable the media to get out there to create awareness. We had the NASDAQ board, we had some of the Reuters space that was donated as well, which was used for the videos as well as for the overall messaging, all of which drove to a centralized website allowing people to voice and make a commitment in terms of what they were going to look to do. We had over 6 million individuals that signed up to the Copenhagen site and pledged and stated what it was that they wanted to do as part of the overall climate change movement. This just gives you some further examples of the web work that was done, the YouTube site.
My name is Chris.
My name is Richard. My name is Pascal.
My name is Richard. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm from
China. I'm from Russia.
I'm from Georgia.
I'm a citizen.
I'm a citizen of Copenhagen.
I'm a citizen of
Copenhagen.
I'm a citizen of Copenhagen.
Let's turn Copenhagen into Copenhagen. The ocean gives me hope.
Global freedom.
Renewable resources give me hope.
Water conservation gives me hope.
Recycle gives me hope.
Copenhagen gives me hope.
So once we had the global citizens and that movement started to begin, what we did is we sent crews out and actually taped each of the individuals with their commitments. And as you saw, we had SAP, Coca-Cola, and Siemens all come on board to really take that consumer movement out there and push it out in a much broader manner. Facebook, again, utilizing all the tools that are available, both in terms of the community. We had a passport that each individual was able to acquire once they did sign up as a citizen of Copenhagen. And there were different sites that were our partners as part of the overall movement. When they visited that site, they were actually stamped based on their activity that they had, thus building up their passport stamps within the community itself. Twitter community, we had, I guess you could say, sort of stunts that were done where individuals were showing up at certain events, stating that they were citizens of Copenhagen to sign up. We had one of the European soccer teams actually don Copenhagen jerseys during one game. And as well, we partnered with Huffington Post. We had a citizen journalist that was voted on by the HuffPost community and attend the Copenhagen talks and be the correspondent specifically for the Copenhagen citizens.
Hi, I'm Brandon Whitford. I am a citizen of Copenhagen, and what gives me hope is that in dealing with this very difficult problem is the opportunity for the world to work together in a way it never has before, to obliterate the myth of separateness, and to acknowledge the fact that we are all together in one world.
So Bradley Whitford is a fairly well-known actor. Some of you may remember him from West Wing. He signed on to the movement. There were several other actors as well that signed on, and we had, again, videos that were produced very simply, very cheaply, with each of these individuals stating what it was that they were committed to do as part of this overall movement. We then moved into the next phase, which was the corporate supported phase. There were a whole host of outdoor ads, some television, and a lot of digital work that was funded by, or media purchased by, Coca-Cola. You see some of the spots here, an SAP ad, a Siemens ad, and really what we were looking to do was align the positioning, if you will, Siemens around answers with the Copenhagen movement to ensure that we were truly supporting what it was that their position was in the sustainability area while we were out there developing this overall movement. In Copenhagen itself, in the center square, we created a, I guess you could almost say, the Copenhagen capital. There were several concerts that were held there. There were information centers. There was this visual globe that was active 24/7 throughout the talks. And different statistics were being fed through the globe visually, as well as information that was being fed off the web of different messages that were coming in from Copenhagen citizens around the world. So overall results, 6.2 million citizens from 200 countries, 55,000 Facebook fans, 350 plus media partners with a projected media value of over 350 million. We have over 1 billion media impressions that were donated as part of the overall program, with 50 countries being reached via media. And with that, I will turn it over to questions. Thank you.
Well, nothing that's an unfortunate appraisal, but a little under trying, I'll take it. We're doing well. Congratulations to the 19%. With that, thank you both very much. Now a topic that's pretty near and dear to